Again, another offset putter with a generous amount of loft. This one carrying the name are Forgan and Sons, St Andrews, with the crown mark, which signifies it was made by the time the Prince of Wales had become King of England in 1902, after the death of his mother, Queen Victoria, and then he subsequently died in 1908. So this club dates between 1902 and 1908. There we are. Quite long, this one, I happen to remember. It's probably about 37 inches long, which is not uncommon. The putters in them days tended to be longer than what we now have as a standard putter length, which is probably about 34.5 inches. Okay, another one. Quite a nice putter to look out for if you're a collector. This is the Orion, and it says James Braid on it, the Orion model, and then it says Averell Kidd Pleasington or Pleasington Golf Club. I don't know how you pronounce that. I think that's in Kilburn in London. So this, anyway, is an Orion model. Tends to have this cut-off toe, and quite a few of them I've seen have got this triangular type pattern of face dots. These came into being in the early 1900s. I can't remember exactly what year, but you're talking about 1903, 1904, something like that. One thing I found with these, and if I just try and angle that up, is actually they don't have a lot of loft on them, and that was probably done on purpose. And in fact, just remembering whilst I mention that, a lot of them have a flat side here to the hosel and up the shaft, and yeah, hardly any loft, so they're very good for putting with on modern putting greens. Next to that is a model that was invented through a collaboration of Arthur Brown, who was an amateur golfer and a writer, and the great Harry Vardon, perhaps the greatest golfer that has ever lived, arguably. And this putter has faint stamps of WM, meaning William Gibson and Co. And just there you can also see the remains of a star, which was William Gibson's cleek mark. So these are called Vardon Browns, and they have a head which has a drop toe, quite a lot of weight behind them. So again, people tend to favour these, playing with them today. The hosels tend to be oval, just here. You can just about see the ovality if I turn it from one axis to another. And on the bottom it has some more stamps which says it's a design number, registered design. It would have had the design number there, which allows you actually to look it up, the year, and I can't remember exactly when they come in. Anyway, on to some more. So beyond that, we're starting coming into rather this shape of putter, one might say, very close. So if I just grab the McEwen from me before. So a lot of people do come across putters like this, wooden headed. They have lead in the back. They have a front sole slip, and they go online if they are trying to find out what it is. And very often they'll say, oh, I've got a long nose putter and I think it could be from the 1860s or 70s. But unfortunately, they're probably 40 or 50 years out, because wooden headed long nose, and long nose refers to generally the fact that it's long in the head and but shallow, putters were used right up actually probably into the 1930s. This one is stamped R. Simpson, Robert Simpson of Carnoustie. One little giveaway you tend to find with later era wooden putters is they will have face grooves like this. If you see face grooves on an earlier long nose, you shouldn't necessarily use that as a strict dating tool of the earlier one. It could be that the lines were added afterwards, but generally on earlier clubs you don't see lines like this. Equally, another difference would be on earlier clubs you're going to see a horn, ram's horn slip here down the front edge, and in here these tend to be an early plastic, and black. Again, the colour's a bit of a giveaway once you've seen a few, but these are very nice to putt with. This one again, if I just remember here, and on all golf clubs, once you become a bit more used to looking at them, always have a look around the shaft just below the grip, because there it says R. Simpson Carnoustie. So even if there's no maker's marks on the actual head of the club, you can find out by looking there, maybe a maker's stamp. Okay, so this, I think that club probably dates around about 1910. It could actually be 10 years either side. Simpson were producing wooden headed putters like that for several decades. Next we have a club that is quite similar to the Orion I showed earlier, in that it has a back flange and then obviously the main blade portion upright here. So it is, I guess you could call that like the Orion, but it's just made by someone else, Bremner. Maybe by that time they were licensing the making of these to other forges, and so maybe that's why it isn't stamped Orion. Okay, by this time I should say, yeah, we're into the Bramble wound ball. This is a Why Not 1913 model with its original paint. So then I've got a few here, putters that, again, once you've been collecting quite a while, you will see a lot of aluminium headed clubs around, and that's what these are. These are cast aluminium, so made by pouring molten aluminium into a mould and then obviously shafting it afterwards once it's cool with a wooden shaft. So I just included this one to show that, again, very, very similar in shape to this wooden one here. Yet I would date this probably, again, possibly as late as 1920. Could be 1910 to be fair. It has a face insert there that is very, very hard. I don't know whether that's a plastic. I don't believe it's gutta percha. Anyway, what tends to happen on a huge amount of these aluminium putters is you get cracks just around the top of the hosel. I don't know if anything of these have cracks. Sometimes you get a very, very, very thin hairline crack, and actually the shaft is very secure on the head, and you're going to be able to play with it, or if you wish, and it's not going to really spread. Probably the crack has formed very soon after it being made,